I've already discussed that there are good and bad perks in DBD numerous times. However, one type of perk I don't normally talk about are thematic perks. They aren't designed to be good or bad. Rather, it's just there as lore flavor for the character. For example, self-preservation exists on Yunjin Lee due to her hard efforts to stay at the top in the music industry. Babysitter exists on Steve because he's likely to risk his own life to save another. And Ash's perks exist to show that he's trash. However, one perk that I like to think about that fits the mold perfectly for thematic perks is Repressed Alliance. Repressed Alliance is a perk that belongs to Cheryl Mason and can be unlocked on her Blood Web at level 40. When Behavior were designing the Killer and Survivor perks for the Silent Hill DLC, they looked deep into the lore for those characters and designed perks that fit well with who they were. To sum it up, Cheryl's the reincarnation of Alessa Gillespie, and her soul is somewhat tied to the strange town of Silent Hill. Her perks reflect the idea of dual personalities, with Repressed Alliance being a good reflection on Cheryl's role for the town. Repressed Alliance is able to be activated after working on a gen for 60 seconds at max tier. While working on the gen, if you press the action button, the survivor calls the entity to block the gen, making it so no one can access it. The effects of Repressed Alliance last for 30 seconds, and the aura of the gen is revealed to all survivors in white. At first, the perk seems ridiculous. However, when you break it apart, you begin to realize the good and bad that Repressed can bring. As always, we will talk about the good first. The first positive about Repressed Alliance is that it can keep the killer away from gens. This can be very useful, especially if they have certain perks, like Pop Goes the Weasel. Let's look at one of my games. In this example, the hillbilly hooks the Kate and began revving his chainsaw. I was worried that he would go to me first, and to make sure that my gen didn't lose any progress, I blocked it with Repressed Alliance, making sure that if Billy did have Pop, he wouldn't be able to use it there. Another benefit for Repressed is that it reveals all its aura to teammates. This isn't just good because it shows teammates a gen location, but it also tells them there was a reason that it got blocked, usually that the killer is nearby, and that the gen has a decent chunk of progress. If used in a survive with friends situation, Repressed Alliance can be a dangerous perk to the killer, possibly removing the potency of one of their perks, and allowing survivors safe protection of their gens. Repressed is also a perk that isn't immune to negatives, and because of it being a thematic perk, it has a few. The first one is that it takes 60 seconds of gen progress to get the perk to work, meaning it's slow to build up. Another negative about it is that once Repressed Alliance is activated, it's not going down until 30 seconds pass. There isn't any way that the survivor can unblock a gen once it's called. However, the biggest negative about Repressed is that it's hard to use. Like, really hard. One mistake and you will get punished for it. Let's look at an example. In this game, I was up against a clown and I thought he would go and down the Kate. And since the gen was already so high in progress, I decided to block it. Instead, I got downed by him, and since he saw me block the gen, he waited around the hook until Repressed went down, so he could use his pop. The smarter move in this situation would have been to wait for the Kate to go down, and after he goes to hook her, you would block the gen and make pop useless. But due to poor decision making, and the fact that I wanted to get clips of me using Repressed Alliance, I made a mistake and he punished me for that. One more thing about negatives. If the killer is running a gen regression perk like Hex Ruin, then Repressed won't deactivate it. So break the totem before using Repressed. It's just the smart thing to do. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is synergies. Repressed Alliance sadly doesn't have many perks it synergizes with, but the ones it does can be quite nasty. Proof Thyself and Resilience can be useful, especially in cases where you need to get gen pressure. Flashbang can be quite handy, since you will be mainly working on a gen. And last but not least, the wonderful wombo combo that I've been thinking about since its release, Blast Mine. One combo that is possible with Blast Mine and Repressed Alliance is that when you are working on a gen, you set up Blast Mine, and once the killer kicks the gen and gets stunned, you can block it with Repressed Alliance. It's funny, it's unique, and it's one of the few perks that exist within the game that can actually affect the gen in a different way than increased gen progress. With all of the faults of Repressed Alliance, I still find it to be one of my most favorite perks in the game. The main reason why is just it's fun. There's no other reason to explain it. I just like Repressed Alliance. So go ahead and give it a shot, especially since killers seem to like running double regression builds on killers lately. Alright, good luck in your games everyone.